So, did everybody watch the launch of the Nothing Phone 3? I believe it started at noon Central Standard Time here in Texas. Would have been what, 1 p.m. East Coast, 10 a.m. West Coast. I did not watch it, so I just had a lot. I just have a lot going on. And look, we already know what it looks like. We already know the mainly the specs it's going to have, which is not anything to brag about. And actually, if you look at my community post, I put a community post out with some of the negatives. Is audio okay? Audio good to go? Good. So I put a community post. We already know like some of the basics, right, when it comes to the uh, specs of the Nothing Phone 3. We know what it looks like, but I put a community post out of some of the negatives, right? Some of the negatives that this device has. And when you start looking at some of the pros and some of the cons, you this is a total miss on Nothing's behalf, because if you have some negatives when it comes to specs, right? And I'll always say there's no perfect smartphone. There's just not, right? Whether it comes down to specs, it could have awesome specs, but be overpriced. Or it could have awesome specs, decent price, but be ugly as hell. See what I'm saying? It just looks nasty, looks ugly, looks weird. Or you could have some decent specs, you could have some not so good specs, and then when the price is overpriced and the device is ugly, that's three strikes and you're out. That's kind of like in the back of my mind, that's kind of when a device launches. That's kind of how I process, is it a good buy? Is it not a good buy? Will this sell well? Will this not sell well? Will I get it? Will I not get it? Right? I kind of go by those metrics that I just mentioned. The price, the specs, and how does it look? This Nothing Phone 3 misses on all three of those fronts. It just does. I'm sorry. The $800 price tag is way too high for what specs it has. The specs it does have, look, there's some specs that we knew it was going to come with, as I mentioned before, that we would expect to be on a quote-unquote flagship phone. But there's some specs that are not good, and some specs that not necessarily they tried to hide, but nobody talked about it, or none of these specs were leaked before this phone was pushed out. And now we know some of the negatives or the specs where it's very subpar, right? And what are those specs that are subpar? Well, those specs that are subpar is it has an OmniVision main sensor. I never heard of that. I looked into it. It's not good. So they did not put a Sony sensor in the main shooter in the camera. They did not put a Samsung sensor in the main shooter. They put a OmniVision sensor. What the hell is that? And going to the screen. The screen is LTPS, not LTPO, not even LTPO 2.0, which the OnePlus 13 has, which the Samsung S25 series has. It has basically 3-year-old LTPS. So that came out before LTPO. Now, what does that mean? That deals with the refresh rate of the screen. Sure, it has 120 hertz refresh rate. They put that on the CMF Phone 2 Pro on a $250 phone. So, of course, it had 120 hertz. But it only goes down to, I think, 30 hertz, 30 or 60 hertz. It does not go down to 1 hertz like the OnePlus 13, like the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra or the Pixel 9 Pro XL. It only drops down to 30 or 60 hertz. So, it's going to hurt the battery in that department. Now, what are some of the other ones? I've seen that it only has USB-C, the actual plug 2.0, which I'm still trying to verify that. Most of our new phones here, as I mentioned, and I'm going to compare it to the Pixel 9, because you can get a Pixel 9 Pro, Pixel 9. You can get all these devices for $800, right? And all of the other flagship Android devices have USB-C, I think at least 3.0. Most of them, I think including the Samsung S25 Ultra, has USB-C 3.2. Actually, let me pull up the... We have an LTPS display, which I mentioned. Oh yes, how could I forget? It has Gorilla Glass 7i. Gorilla Glass 7i. So Gorilla Glass front and back, right? Gorilla Glass now, the S25 Edge has Gorilla Glass Victus 2, I believe. Or no, it even has a more premium, the very latest and greatest on the S25 Edge, has the brand new version of Gorilla Glass, which is even newer than Gorilla Glass Victus 2. All your other premium flagship Androids are going to have Gorilla Glass Victus 2. This has 7i. 7i is put on budget phones, right? It just is. Budget and mid-range phones. So it's a newer glass, but it's put on budget phones. Not as unbreakable as Victus 2 or even Victus, right? So you get a downgrade there. We talked about the OmniVision main sensor. You get a mid-range Snapdragon. They say mid-range Snapdragon processor. It is technically flagship. It's just not the very best flagship CPU. Oh yeah, you get optical fingerprint sensor. So they're not even putting ultrasonic, and they even have ultrasonic 2.0, which the S25 series has ultrasonic 2.0. Doesn't even have ultrasonic, so it has a 3-year-old basically fingerprint sensor, right? Google, the Pixel 9 series, they already moved on. They used to have optical. Pixel's moved on to ultrasonic fingerprint sensors. Now we talked about the USB 2.0. They're saying Wi-Fi 6. Now, I was not able to verify that. I saw Wi-Fi 7 from another account, and it could be possible that they have two different variants, one for US, I doubt it though, and one for the rest of the world and or Europe. It should support Wi-Fi 7. So if it does not support Wi-Fi 7, if that's true, in fact, only Wi-Fi 6, that's a real shame, because Wi-Fi 7 is available for use. Now, it's not that common. Not many people have Wi-Fi 7, but you can get it if you want to. It's very expensive right now at the moment. I don't have Wi-Fi 7. I'll probably jump into that. I'll probably get Wi-Fi 7 here in the house probably, I don't know, next year at some point, but no real need for it right now. However, if this only has Wi-Fi 6, you're not going to really future-proof this device. It's a real shame for this device to only have certain good specs. You see what I'm saying? And they really, really cut the corner on some other specs. Now, why would they do that, right? Why would they cut corners on these specs? Well, it's to make a profit. It's because the parts and sensors that have been out for 2 to 3 years already cost less than parts that are brand new or the newest model of those, right? Newest generations. They're trying to make a profit, and obviously they're in business, and I don't blame them, right? But that's up to you, and or that's up to nothing, or that's up to Apple, or that's up to OnePlus to say, okay, we're going to shoot for this price point, meaning we're going to shoot for the base model $800 in the US. Now, we want to make a profit margin or make a profit roughly of $400 per device. So that means we can only spend up to $400 in putting this phone together for parts and for labor. So that's part of making a phone, is going through, okay, well, let's go with Gorilla Glass 7i because Gorilla Glass Victus 2 is really expensive, and that'll push us over our budget if we want to keep a $400 profit margin. Same thing that goes with the display. Same thing that goes with the optical fingerprint sensor. Same thing that goes with the USB 2.0 port. But these are these stick out like a sore thumb. So why can why can OnePlus put out a phone at the same price that has top of the line specs? I'm talking your OnePlus 13 blows any other phone out of the water when it comes to specs. It has, and it always will, right? So how can they put all the top of the line stuff in their phones, but nothing skimp on some of these specs? Because the OnePlus 13 has the latest and greatest LTPO display 2.0. The OnePlus 13 has Gorilla Glass Victus 2. The OnePlus 13, either has a Sony sensor or a Samsung sensor. The OnePlus 13 has the latest Snapdragon 8 Elite, their latest and greatest CPU. The OnePlus 13 has a ultrasonic 2.0 fingerprint sensor. The OnePlus 13, I believe, supports Wi-Fi 7. The OnePlus 13 has USB 3.2. So why are they putting everything good in their phone while nothing is kind of skimping out on specs? It's to make a profit, or it's to maximize your profit margin. So that's why they did it. Now, should they have done it? I don't think so. I think I would have, at that price, there's too much competition at that price point. And again, remember, they missed on all three fronts. They missed on design, they missed on specs, and it's overpriced. So why would you buy this? So I think they shot themselves in the foot with this release. Waited 2 years to put this out, and what a complete flop. Because I was telling my wife last night, I personally was going to buy this phone no matter what. I was going to buy it no matter what. I love nothing, as you can tell. I have had every phone they've put out. I was anticipating this for a whole year, because this time last year we were thinking they were going to put a phone out last July, but we ended up waiting a whole nother year. So the anticipation for this phone is really high. And I was going to buy it no matter what, right? And now seeing the phone, probably the ugliest phone I've ever laid eyes on, and I'm trying to say that nicely. So you get an absolute hideous looking device, and then you get, specs like this. It's not everything, I get it, but why spend money on something where the specs are subpar in many crucial areas for the same price where I can go get a real flagship device, right? So I'm actually kind of stunned, quite honestly. I would say at a loss of words, but I think I'm portraying everything fairly well as far as my frustrations with Carl Pei, with nothing. And you know what's funny? Well, let me finish this thought. So I'm almost shocked that I was at a point 2 weeks ago, just 2 weeks ago, where I was like, man, I'm going to get this phone no matter what. And it's just been bad news after bad news after bad news. Now I'm at the point where I've made up my mind. I am not going to buy this. Now, could I purchase one in the future? I guess, right? But I'm not paying over $400 for one, because that's basically what it is. It's a $400 phone with an $800 price tag. You can go get a Poco F7 with actually better specs than this Nothing Phone 3 for the same for half the price. The Poco F7 is what, $399, $400, and it has better specs basically. Now it's got that little glyph thing on the dot matrix thing, but it's not enough to entice people to purchase. It's not enough to push somebody over the edge to buy this, quite honestly. And I think they were kind of using that. I think they had their fingers crossed, hoping that something cool like that would kind of entice people to get it. When competition is close, you have that one extra thing that you throw in there that'll make a consumer say, all right, let me get this. You're definitely not at that point. Definitely did not put a device out that people are debating, should I get it or should I not get it? It is an emphatic no. And I'm seeing that a lot online, a lot on Twitter, a lot on YouTube. In fact, a lot of the reviewers, if you go watch a few, they did invite some YouTubers to, I believe, London to go look at it. And I think if you kind of read behind the lines, read behind the, the review, so to speak, a lot of the reviewers were not necessarily saying anything bad about this phone, but they certainly weren't gloating and bragging about this phone like you would see at an iPhone launch or a OnePlus 13 launch or a S25 series launch. I watched, I think, 3 or 4, and it was just blah. Like, it was just, here's the phone 3. There was no enthusiasm. And I think most people that do have that did review this, that have it in person, are saying things when they talk about the design. They're saying things like interesting design or different look. Let's just be honest. It's a shitty look. It's a shitty design. They did total whiff on this design. It just looks hideous. Let's just be frank. It looks absolutely horrid. In fact, I don't even know if I would pay $400 for it right now at this point. I would have to find an absolute steal on one to even want to purchase it. And if I did purchase it, I would get the black one, and that's just because the black one hides how ugly it is a little better than the white one. Let's see here. I'm trying to get I still haven't figured out how to get the comments up on the screen. Let's see here. Scalability. Daniel says scalability. OnePlus sells more devices so they can get more parts at cheaper price than nothing in bulk. And I think this is a perfect example of that comment. Perfect point. The more you buy in bulk, cheaper the price, right? Look at Walmart's theory, right, in buying in bulk, or what is it, Sam's Club, right? The more you buy, the cheaper you get. And OnePlus is definitely not going to sell many of these. Daniel, they said it will. He says, I'm curious if it will support US bands. They made a statement last week saying, I believe it was a Twitter post, I believe it was a press release, it will support all US bands. It will not be in beta program anymore. So it'll be fully supported, the US bands. Miami Mail, yes. And I'm actually frustrated, quite honestly, because I had such high anticipation for this. I got Nothing shirts. I have had every Nothing phone. I'm a big supporter of Nothing. I actually think it's a really good. The mobile phone world industry is so competitive, but it really does need a company like Nothing to kind of make it more competitive, make it more fun. And this has been just an absolute bummer of a launch for a flagship device. Daniel, you like their new headphones? I've never been a headphone user. Never, ever. I have a pair of headphones here that somebody sent me, and I just don't use them. I probably should for live streaming, but I just don't. I've always been a Bud user, and especially when it comes to doing like this right here, having one bud in, one bud out. That's how I move around town, running errands, even in the house, doing chores in the house. I'll have one bud in and one bud out, just so I can listen or hear stuff in my ear, and I can hear what's going on around me. I know you can sort of do that with headphones, but I've never been a headphone person and or user. But they look different, and I expected them to, right? I did expect them to. Now, are any of y'all interested in getting the phone? I was going to put a poll out and ask if you would be not necessarily are you going to buy it, but basically are you interested in the phone? Like, could you see yourself buying it? I may put that post out in a little while, maybe this afternoon. Let's see here. I was going to see if there was a full spec sheet, because GSM Arena had they have a spec sheet out for the Nothing Phone 3, but it was not fully complete. Let me see. Hands-on in the news, Glyph Matrix. I saw one report saying it had a silicone battery, carbon battery, and I saw another report saying it does not. I doubt it does. That's why I said, what? I don't think it does. See, and what is this? 8 gigs of RAM, 12 gigs of RAM? No. It has a base. Oh, that's another thing. Wait a second. What the hell's going on? Nothing Phone 3 up here that I highlighted, but you got the Nothing Phone 2 picture. It only has a full HD plus display. So it does not have a 1.5. Unofficial preliminary specs. Let's see. Okay, so this is supposed to be for the Phone 3. So they're saying nothing is official. And they had to put a generic picture up there. I don't know why, but let's see. See, it's still saying this. Strips on the back. What the hell? So I don't believe this is the proper. Well, it has this Snapdragon 8S Gen 4 CPU here. Oh boy. Let's see. Anything new? It does not come in It does not come in an 8 gig, 128 gig variant. It only comes in base 12 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of storage, and then you can upgrade to 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs of storage. So this is not correct. And that's coming straight from Nothing. Let's see. Wi-Fi 6. Yep, it's only got Wi-Fi 6 on here. Bluetooth 5.3. It does not even have Bluetooth 5.4. Now again, these specs are not official, but that would not be good. Not be good. Look, Bluetooth 5.3 still fine. I'm just saying 5.4 is the latest, and actually Bluetooth 6.0 I believe is out right now, or it will be out here in the very, very near future. So a generation old or 2 generation old Bluetooth is not that good, quite honestly. I mean, as far as a $800 device, you know, in relative to what you're getting, what you're paying. Let's see here. I also saw different stuff going on with the charging. I saw up to 65 watts, and now it's saying up to 100 watts wired. And nothing on the no silicone carbon up here, so I don't believe it does. I heard the screen is LTPS, not LTPO. I don't understand this choice, to be honest. I don't either. This person down here says, yeah, I'll pass. This phone is so ugly and overpriced. It has the potential to ruin the entire company behind it. Impressive. Yeah, I know. That's the thing. When you're you know how much money, do you know how much, and I don't know the answer, but do you know how much money they probably put into this release? You got to pay your designers. You got to pay your developers. You got to pay buying parts for the phone. You got to spend on marketing, just everything that goes into this, and not including time as well, right? Because the time you were spending on this, you could have been spending on something else. But I think this is going to not sell very many units, and a small company like Nothing that really depends on sales of every release, right? You got to have revenue coming in. And I know the 3A the phone 3A sold very well and is still selling very. In fact, it probably is going to be their best seller because people that were going to get the phone 3, like me, that are not going to get it anymore, are going to go get the phone 3A. In fact, that's exactly what I did. But imagine how much money, time they are going to essentially waste on this, because I can almost guarantee you the sales numbers are going to be very, very, very small. I don't know their sales goals, obviously. I'm sure, I think we mentioned that the other day, probably, I think 1 million units worldwide is pushing it. So let's say they anticipate selling 750,000 of these, 750,000. That's maybe a more realistic goal. I bet they don't even sell 250,000. I bet they don't. I just don't believe it. And that's going to put them in the hole. Now, here's the thing. This won't bankrupt the company, right? I think you can have basically one flop with these new companies that are just starting out, but if they don't hit on the phone 4, that's when they're going to be in serious, serious trouble. So you can have a flop on the phone 3. Now you have other products that you're selling that are bringing in revenue, but this is your flagship device. What does nothing want to be? Just a budget and mid-range phone supplier, right? Earbuds, headphones, or do you want to have that one, or do you want to be known for also having a flagship device? If they put another phone, let's say a year from now, a phone 4, and it's the same thing, ugly design, subpar specs, everybody online says, ew, what the hell is that? I'm not buying that. Now, if they flop on this upcoming phone 4 a year from now, that might put them in serious, serious trouble. Then at that point, you're going to have investors starting to say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and cash out my share. I'm going to go ahead and sell my share and get out of this thing because it's going to be, a sinking ship, potentially. But I think they'll survive this flop. You're just going to have to be very careful on the phone 4. Charging is 65 watt. Damn, I need to put my my chat up on here. I don't know why I can't get it up on the screen. Yeah, LDAC. Yes. It's supposed to support the new. We're talking about audio. It's supposed to support that new Snapdragon, and I want to try it out desperately. The Snapdragon. Why did I forget the name of that new audio where you stream audio over your network and not over Bluetooth? Quite frankly, it's via a Wi-Fi signal instead of Bluetooth signal, and apparently you can get much better quality audio. This phone supports it, I believe, because everything they have are Snapdragon chips in their products. Let's see. You still might get it, Daniel. And look, and that's fine. I mean, some people are not that disgruntled over the looks, and it's just personal preference, right? I'm not gonna buy it, but I'm not saying you, the viewer, not to buy it. If you like it, go for it. Like I've made phone purchases in the past that other people have been like, why the hell did you get that phone? I'm like, I don't know, I just like it. It's one of those things. If you like it, go for it. Yeah, I'm not going to buy it, but be my guest. You're waiting. Miami Mail says, I'm waiting for the launch of the Samsung 26 series. Boy, am I. I cannot wait for that. And then Samsung's really going to start putting some good products out here with the S26 series and the S27 series. In the short term, I'm waiting for a One UI 8 official upgrade release. It is freaking phenomenal on this phone. I still need to record the video, but the Beta 3, One UI 8 Beta 3 on the S25 Ultra, great. I love it, and my phone's not overheating. So whatever they did to it, I really like it. It's potentially, they put that S25 Edge battery algorithm code. Maybe they implemented that into here. The problem is with Samsung, it's not like Google when they update theirs. You can see the whole change log, right? Kind of like exactly all the bugs they fixed and everything they did behind the scenes. Samsung's very vague about their change log. Yes, they have a site or a page or a link you can click on to go see what they changed, but it's like the security fixes and bug patches, you know, battery improvements, and that's it. That's all it says every single time. So potentially they did fix something on here. You said Daniel says the Nothing website lists silicon carbon battery. It supports Bluetooth 6.0. Really? I would use the spec sheet on the Nothing site. Let me go check it out. Damn. GSM Arena has been solid for me this whole time, and now I don't know. Somebody at GSM Arena needs to update this site. Let's just go to nothing.tech. Oh shit. I hate how Google autofills my searches. Alright, let's see here real quick. You can't even pre-order. Oh, it says pre-orders on July 4th. I was going to say you can't even order it yet. I thought, let's see. Let's do this. Let's go to phones. Information sheet. All right. Huh. So let's see. Battery endurance per cycle. It is IP68. Okay, I was wrong. See this? That's where jerry rig everything when he does that little scratch test all across the screen. What does he typically when does it typically scratch? I think at a 6 or 7, right? Well, this says 5. Does it say on here if it has which Gorilla Glass it has? Because if it is a 7i, that's going to be an issue. It's going to scratch easily, right? 65 watt USB Type-C charging. Let's see here. So you should get 1,400 battery cycles here. That's an interesting spec sheet. It comes from European. I guess that's their equivalent of the FCC. Let's see. Specs. Phone 3. Colors. Capacity. Dimensions. Damn, it's 9 millimeters thick. That's a thick phone. Let's see. We know the processor. Now, cameras. Let's see these cameras. Does it give us who manufactures the sensor? Main camera. It does not. Ultra wide. True lens, engine number 4. So we got, video recording, XDR video recording, 60, 30 frames per second, 1080p Ultra XDR video recording, 60 and 30 frames per second. Okay. Display, 6.67, flexible AMOLED. It is cornering glass, Gorilla Glass 7i. So it is 7i. That's why it scratches at a lower number than typically what jerry rig everything. When you see him scratch that display, it really shows at a number 7. So this is going to scratch pretty easily, it looks. So it is using weaker Gorilla Glass. 1260 by 2800, 460 ppi, good. So it's a little better than 1080p plus. Let's see here. It doesn't say if it's an LTPS display, which they might be trying to hide. Not LTPO. Silicon carbon. Okay, so it is silicon carbon lithium ion. Interesting. Okay, multimedia, audio, dual speakers, nano SIM, dual SIM. It is Wi-Fi 7. It is Wi-Fi 7. They don't let me highlight stuff here. I don't know why, but it is a Wi-Fi 7. Bluetooth 6.0. Does support NFC. You can get your 5G bands right there. Looks like it does support most of the AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon bands. I do see some bands in there from all of the major U.S. carriers. What else we got? And it is IP68. In-display fingerprint sensor. Does not say which one. Accelerometer. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Does run on Android 15. 5 years of Android updates. And we'll get Android 16. Nothing OS 4.0. They said before the end of the year. So it's a shame they couldn't get Android 16 on here. But you will get 5 years of of Android updates and 7 years of security updates, security patches. So, goes down to 60, huh? Damn it! What the hell are they thinking? Man, me too. I didn't even watch the damn thing. I didn't even watch the launch. The black is definitely yes, the one to get if you do get it. Man, I know. I'm kind of bummed out. Well, at this point, I'm not going to get it right now. But like I said, if I come across one at a decent price in the future and it's black color, I might get it. But definitely no desire to get it. So I got to run. Today's my wife's birthday. I got to go get some stuff for her. So let me get out of here. But make sure you subscribe to the channel. And make sure you watch tomorrow's live. We'll have more Nothing Phone 3. I kind of want to move on from the 3. So we'll see. I'll find some good stuff to talk about tomorrow. Kind of want to get off, unless there's more information and or news on the Nothing Phone 3. I'm kind of over it right now. So we've delved into everything there is about it over these last week or so, and today was just confirmation that look, it's not for everyone. I'll just say that, but I'll find something else to talk about tomorrow. And but I gotta run. I gotta go get my wife something for her birthday. So I'll see you all tomorrow. Peace.